ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ Hukamnama Sahib today is by Dhan Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj on Ang 763 of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji in Suhi RAAG ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਰਾਗ ਸੂਹੀ ਛੰਤ ਮਹੱਲਾ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਘਰ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਇੱਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਭਰ ਜੋਬਨ ਮੈਂ ਮਤ ਪਈੜੈ ਘਰ ਪਾਹੁਣੀ ਬਲਰਾਮ ਜੀਓ ਮੈਲੀ ਅਵਗਣ ਚਿਤ ਬਿਨ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਣ ਨਾ ਸਮਾਵਨੀ ਬਲਰਾਮ ਜੀਓ ਭਰ ਜੋਬਨ ਮੈਂ ਮਤ ਪਈੜੈ ਘਰ ਪਾਹੁਣੀ ਬਲਰਾਮ ਜੀਓ ਮੈਲੀ ਅਵਗਣ ਚਿਤ ਬਿਨ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਣ ਨਾ ਸਮਾਵਨੀ ਬਲਰਾਮ ਜੀਓ ਧੰਨ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ is speaking to us today. RAAG SOOHEE in the Suhi RAAG in the verses of CHHANT, Mahalla Pehla Dhan Guru Nanak Sahib, Ghar Pehla. Ghar relates to the method that this Shabad should be sang in. So the first ghar, the first house, is in which this Shabad should be sung. Maharaji begins today's Shabad with a supplication which comes up again and again in Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and it has also been called the seed of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji by Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji Maharaj, who said that these words encapsulate the whole of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. What words are they? Ik oankar satgur prasad. Ik oankar the creator, preserver and destroyer is that being beyond duality, non-dual, Ik oankar. And that non-dual divinity, Akal Purkh Vaheguru, is found through the grace of the eternal Guru, Satgur Prasad. Bhar joban main mat, paiyaɗai ghar pahuni Balaram Jiyo. This Shabad is broken into 4 verses. And just before we begin looking at each line, the first set of verses is talking about the soul as a bride. And the first set of verses talks of that soul bride, and I'm using the word bride, but let us not get this confused with anything else. This is talking about the soul. So this isn't talking about external ideas of gender. It's talking about the soul here. But anyway, and we are all soul brides. So in the first part, or let's say the first quarter of the Shabad, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj talks about that person who hasn't walked upon the path of the Satguru, who hasn't walked upon the path of divinity, who has simply been intoxicated with this world. And Maharaji talks from that point of view, taking on that persona in this part of the Shabad, the first quarter. In the second quarter of the Shabad, Satguru Ji calls out to the Guru. and says, unite me with that divine Akal Purkh, with that non-dual divinity, that eternal consciousness. Ram, Allah, Khuda, whatever word you want to use, Vaheguru. In the third quarter of the Shabad, Sache Padshah Ji talks of this divine marriage of the soul and Vaheguru. And in the last part of the Shabad, Maharaji talks about how that soul bride no longer comes back into the cycle of birth and death, and talks about the place that soul bride gets within the house of the husband Lord Akal Purkh Vaheguru. So this flow of the soul bride and the husband Lord the divine will flow through the whole Shabad. But that was a little quick summary. Par joban mein mat. The soul bride was mat, was intoxicated with joban, with the youth. So this is talking about life. We are intoxicated, and this intoxication is the intoxication of ego, the intoxication that we think that this life will remain forever. And in this intoxication, what did the soul bride not know? The Payyada means parents' home. In South Asian culture, especially Punjabi culture, when a bride is in the home of their parents, that is called the Pekakar. When the bride gets married, that house is called their Saurakar, or the house of the in-laws. And so this world, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj says, is like a Pekakar, like the bride in the house of their parents. So this whole world is like a Pekakar. And what we haven't realized is that we are just a Pahuni. So Payyada here relates to Pekakar, the house of the parents, and Pahuni means guest. In this intoxication of chasing fleeting pleasures which ultimately turn into pain, in all of these intoxications, we have forgotten that we are simply guests. And this first quarter of the Shabad probably applies to 99.9% of us. Balaram Jiyo, you find this in the Soohee RAAG especially. I am a sacrifice Bal to you, O Ramji, O great Lord. And it's used at the end of Pangati's end of lines. Meli Avgan Chit Ben Gor Gunna Samavani Balaram Jiyo. Meli Avgan Chit. Being intoxicated, and this intoxication, remember, is forgetting that you are a guest here. It is when we forget that we are a guest here that the most evil things happen. And Maharaji says that in that forgetting, what happens? Merely you become polluted with avgan, with demerits. Your chit, what gets polluted? Your chit, your mind. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, Ben Gur, without the Guru, Gona na samavani Balaram Jiyo. Without the Guru, Gona. Virtues cannot samavani, cannot, literally they cannot enter into you, become part of you. Balaram Jiyo, and that little poetic style is used again. I am a sacrifice to you, O Ram, O all-pervasive Akal Purkh divinity, consciousness, Vaheguru. Gon sar na jani, bharm pulani, joban baad gavaya. I have not known the value, the sar of the gun of virtue. Na jani, I have not known. And sometimes what does that mean? I have not known the value of virtue. Do we know the value of virtue? Can we say that? And if we knew the value of virtues, why do we give them up? Why do we give up the truth? Why do we give up honesty? Why do we give up integrity? This first quarter of the Shabad is crying out to us. And Gyani Harbans Singh, in the steek written by him, he translates this gun sar na jani, that I have never valued the gun, the gifts that Akal Purkh has given me, or all of the glorious virtues or the glorious grace that Akal Purkh gave me. So gun can be translated in a few ways here. Virtues, but it can also be the gifts of Akal Purkh. I have not known their value. The value of this body, the value of this life, the value of the air I am breathing. Param Pulani, instead I am Pulani, I am deluded by Param, by doubt. Joban Baad Gavaya. This Joban, this youth, and youth isn't here just talking about, 20 years old, 30 years old. It's not just that youth. Here, youth, it's being used to indicate human life. This youthful human body, which is our youth, doesn't matter whether you're 80 years old or 8 years old, this is our youth. In this sketch that Guru Nanak Dev Ji is making with their words, Baad Gavaya, I have lost it simply in arguments. Baad can mean arguments. And Baad can also mean it's gone in vain. I wasted this opportunity. Var kar dar darshan nahi jata, pir ka sahaj na paya. I have not known my var, my husband Lord. Now husband Lord, what does that mean? That same ikko ankar here is being called the husband Lord. And a relationship is being used because we know the dynamics of relationships. And that is why Guru Sahib Ji is using it here. Maharaj says, I have not known my husband Lord. Kar, I have not known the house of my Lord. I have not known the door of my Lord. So not only do I not know my Lord, I do not know the house of my Lord, and I do not know the door that opens to my Lord. Darshan, I do not know even about the vision of my Lord. And this line in itself, you could go on for hours, but let's keep it succinct. Nahi jata, I have not known them. Pir ka sahaj na paya. Why? Because the sahaj, the nature of my pir, of my husband Lord, na paya, it never enthralled me. Sahaj has been translated by Gyani Harbans Singh as meaning the nature of Akal Purkh. Na paya means never pleased me. It never pleased me to find out about the nature of divinity, the nature of eternal consciousness, the nature of Vaheguru, Ram, Allah. That was never part of my plan. I had many other things which interested me, but this never enthralled me. Satgur Poochna Marg Chali. I did not go and ask the eternal Guru about the marg, the path to Akal Purkh, and I didn't walk upon it either. Suti Ran Vihani. I have wasted my life, this ran, this night. Now, where in the beginning of the Shabad, this human life was being talked about as youth, now it's being talked about as a night. This night of human life I have spent suti, whether I had my eyes open or not, I was asleep. Nanak bal tan ra depa bin pir tan ko milani. Tan Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj says bal tan. Now bal tan, what does that mean? That means in youth, whilst I was still young. Ra depa. Ra depa means I have become widowed. What is Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj saying? Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj is saying, look at me. I have not met my husband Lord, Akal Purkh Vaheguru. I have not realized divinity. And that is why I may have this body, I may have the gift of breath flowing through my lungs, but still I have not realized Akal Purkh, and therefore I am widowed. Bin pir, without my husband Lord, without my Vaheguru. Tan Kumlani. Kumlani means to rot away. This soul bride, Tan here means it's a soul bride is wasting away. Kumlani. Baba, मैं वर देह, मैं हर वर भावै, तिसकी बलराम जियो. Satguru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj begins the next part of this Shabad. Now Baba here is talking to the Guru. Baba is a word used for elders. And here the Guru is being looked at as the elder. Baba, oh my Guru, main var de. Find me my groom, the husband, Lord. Var means a husband. Main var de. Join me with my husband, Lord. Main har var bhavai tiski Balaram jiyo. मैं हर वार भावै तिसकी बलराम जियो. That Hari, that Vaheguru, that divine eternal consciousness pleases me, bhavai, enthralls me, excites me. And now Maharaj goes on to talk about the Akal Purkh Vaheguru, Rav Rahya Jug Char, Tripavan Bani, Jiski Balaram Jiyo. Now, what husband Lord are you talking about? That husband Lord I'm talking about is Rav Rahya Jug Char, the one who pervaded through all of the ages, all 4 ages according to the timeline in old historic South Asian culture, but let's take it to apply to all times. Tripavan Bani Jiski Balaram Jiyo. Tripavan in all 3 worlds. Now, all the worlds below us, all the worlds above us, and this world that we're living upon. You could say all the planets below us, all them above. Tripavan. Below, above and here, Bani Jiski Balaram Jiyo, whose Bani, whose voice or whose sound vibrates through all the creation. When these words are used, Tripa, when it's meaning the whole universe, that Akal Purkh whose voice, whose sound vibrates through all. Gyani Harbans Singh has translated this as meaning Hukam, command of Akal Purkh. And you can interpret this in many different ways, but the word used by Guru Nanak Dev Ji is Bani, meaning the sound. The sound or the voice of that Akal Purkh vibrates through all, reverberates through all. Tripavan Kant Rava Sohagan Avganavanti Dure. The Sohagan, the happily married soul bride, enjoys the company of that Tripavanakant, that master of all 3 worlds, or let's say the master of the universe, Akal Purkh. Avganavanti Dure, the one who is full of demerits and sins, it is far away. Jaisi asa, taisi mansa, pura rahya par pure. Dhan Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj says, Jaisi asa, taisi mansa. As we desire, so those desires are fulfilled. Pura rahya par pure. Vaheguru Ji is pervading through all perfectly. Har ki nar so sarb sohagan, Rand na MEHL vese har ki nar. That soul bride who is married to Hari, the one who nourishes all, that divine consciousness, that Ikwankar, so Sarab Suhagan, is always happily married. Rand na MEHL vese. Now the word not here, it applies both to the word which precedes it and the word which comes after it. Maharaj says that that soul bride is never rand, is never widowed, and is never MEHL vese. MEHL vese means never has dirtied clothes. Now what does that mean? Dirtied mind or inner clothes. That soul bride who is married to their husband Lord cannot be soiled or polluted and is never widowed, is always enjoying the company of their master. Nanak mehvar sacha bhava jog jog pritam taise. Dhan Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj says that Sacha, that true husband Lord Vaheguru Bhava pleases me, jog jog pritam taise, who remains the same. My beloved, my Pritam remains the same in all jug, in all ages. Sache Paatshah Ji Maharaj begins the third part of the Shabad. Baba Lagan Ganai Hang Pi Vanya Sahura Balram Jiyo. Satguru Sahib Ji says, Baba, oh Guru Ji, Lagan Ganai. Now, Lagan Ganai is talking about setting the date of the marriage. Set the date of that marriage. Hang pi vanya sahure Balram Jiyo. Hang pi vanya. I also want to go to Sahure, to the house of my in-laws. Balaram Jiyo, that ending words are used again. I am a sacrifice to you, O Ram. Saha hukam rajaye so na tala. And what does the Guru say? The Guru says, Saha hukam rajaye. Before there used to be a letter written to seal the marriage, the date, it was called CHHANT. The Guru says that the Saha, the letter to seal the date of the marriage, hukam rajaye, is in the command of the of Akal Purukh. So natala, and it cannot ever be stopped. Jo Prabh kare Balaram Ji, whatever Prabhu Akal Purukh Vaheguru wills, that is what will happen. The Guru says back. Kirt paya karta kar paya, met na saka koi. Kirt paya, those past actions which you have done, karta kar paya, which are then written upon your forehead by the Creator. So this goes into a little bit of karmic philosophy, and we like to keep the translations as short and sweet as possible. But out of those past actions which you have done in your karmic bank, let's say, you have some taken out for this life, written upon your forehead, they say. So Akal Purukh, out of your own deeds, Akal Purukh has written some of them for you in this life. Met na saka koi, no one can remove that. So Sache Paatshah Ji Maharaj, it's a conversation between the Guru and the soul bride. The soul bride is saying, when am I going to go to the house of my in-laws? And the Guru is saying back, you will go when the time is right. And what will happen? Janyi nao narha nihi keval rav rahya tihuloi. Who will be the wedding party? Janyi means wedding party. Now there are two ways of interpreting this line. One, we could say that the wedding party is the name of Narah Nihi Keval, that Akal Purukh who is Nihi Keval, who is independent of all Narah, of all beings. The name of Akal Purukh becomes the wedding party. And a second way of interpreting this is, those who meditate upon the name of Akal Purukh, who is Nihi Keval, who is free from all Narah, translates directly to humans, but we could apply it to all beings, that Akal Purkh Vaheguru is above all beings. Those saints who meditate upon Akal Purkh's name, they become our wedding party. And who is Akal Purkh? Ravara Hayatehu Loi, the one who pervades through all of the universe. Now what happens when this wedding is taking place between the soul and Akal Purkh Vaheguru? Mae nirasi roe vichunni bali bala hete. Mae, the mother, gets sad, nirasi, roe vichunni, in this separation cries out. But bali bala hete, between the soul bride and the husband divine Akal Purkh, there is great love. Now who is the mother? Maya. This illusion of the world cries out as yet another breaks through its net. Nanak Sach Shabad Sukh MEHL Gur Charani Prabh Chete. Dhan Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, ending this third part of the Shabad, through the true Shabad, the true divine words of the Guru, Sukh MEHL, we find the Sukh, the never-ending happiness of the house of Akal Purkh Vaheguru, the house of the divine. Gur Charani Prabh Chete, but only in the feet of the Guru can we remember the divine. Babul Ditri Dur Na Ave Kar Paiya Balaram Jiyo. Who was the Babul? Who was the father? The Guru. Who is the husband? Akal Purkh Vaheguru. Who is the bride? The soul. Babul Ditri Dur. My father, the Guru, has married me far away. Na ave kar paiya Balaram jiyo. And therefore, na ave, I do not come back to the house of my parents or this world. This beautiful imagery is being used, that I will not come back into the cycle of birth and death. Now I've gone beyond that. Rahsi vek hadur pir ravi Kar Soohee Balaram Jiyo. I'm filled with happiness seeing my Akal Purkh Hadur. Hadur means always with me. Pir Ravi Kar Soohee. I enjoy the company of my husband Lord. Ravi means to enjoy the company. Pir of my husband Lord. Kar Soohee. And I am beautified in the house of the divine. Sache pir lodi pritam jodi. Now this is great. This part of the Shabad, all of it is great, but this is just beyond any things that we can encapsulate in words. Sache pir lodi, that true husband Lord desires me. There's not just a love for the soul bride, for the husband Lord, but the husband Lord desires me. Vaheguru desires me. Pritam Jodi, and therefore has joined me. The beloved joined me. Mat Puri Pradhane, gave me perfect wisdom. Mat Pradhane, and has raised me up. Sanjogi Mela Than Suhela Gunvanti Gur Gyane. Sanjogi, by blessed destiny, Mela, I was united. Than Sohela, and I was given a blessed place. Gunavanti Gur Gyane, I have been filled with virtues through the Gyan, the wisdom of the Guru. Sat Santog Sada Sach Palle. What did the Guru's Gyan give me? Sat, meditating upon the eternal truth. Santog, contentment. Sada Sach Palle, I always keep hold of the hem of the robe of truth. Sach bole. Pir pae. And those who speak with the eternal truth in their heart, they please their master Akal Purkh Vaheguru. Nanak vichhad na dukh pae, gurmat ank samaye. Dhan Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj says, that soul bride who we've been talking about in this last part of the Shabad will never be separated. Vichhad na dukh pae, will not find any pain. Gurmat ank samaye, because following the Guru's wisdom, that soul bride Samay merges into the Ankh, the embrace of the divine, of that Ik Oankar. ਸਤ ਸੰਤੋਖ ਸਦਾ ਸੱਚ ਪੱਲੇ, ਸੱਚ ਬੋਲੇ ਪਿਰ ਭਾਏ। ਨਾਨਕ ਵਿਛੜ ਨਾ ਦੁਖ ਪਾਏ, ਗੁਰਮਤਿ ਅੰਕ ਸਮਾਏ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ।